you know what, I'm giving them a solid B+, because it is coming out smoothly. It's not giving me problems with other brands. As an actual oil paint brand, I would use it again, but I expected more. You expect more from something when it advertises as granular. You expect it to be chunky. You expect it to be more than just what you'd get out of basic Williamsburg non-advertised granular. Like, their earth tones will get you probably more grain. More is what I'm trying to say. So this is the feedback. If Tuscan Pine is watching, more granular, more glitter, more of the mica. Make what you're advertising actually be what it is. Make it pop out.
Hey guys, I'm Heather at Jerry's. I wanted to give a shout out to Callie. Thank you for doing our very first review on Tuscan Pine. So I wanted to take the time and kind of answer your review and a few questions that you had. The first thing I want to start off by saying is that something my dad always says is that with art supplies, some swear by it and some swear at it. It's just how it is. Every paint is different. Everything, the people behind it, the machinery, all of it is different. And so it's really what works best for you. But I can speak a lot and with authority on Tuscan Pine because I did help develop it. So let's get right into it. The first color that you started with was our brown pink granular, which is one of my absolute favorites. In your video, you had used you'd compared it to the Winsor & Newton warm brown pink, which is a different pigment, but I think that you had also mentioned the Williamsburg brown pink, which I think is a better comparison. So that's the one I brought here. So I'm gonna start just by actually going over the tubes real quick. So you can see on both of these tubes the hand-painted swatch at the top. So all of our tubes, all Williamsburg tubes, have the hand-painted swatch. So this is the actual paint and how it dries. And you can see here they both kind of have a little bit, hopefully you can see here, they both kind of have a little bit of texture, but there is a slight variation in the undertone. So if you flip the tubes over, there's you can see the pigment numbers that we use, and Williamsburg is using PR 101 and we are using PR 102. What's the difference? PR 101 is a synthetic red iron oxide and PR 102 is a natural red iron oxide. Neither better or worse, just a slightly different variation of the same color. So that said, I will do a little bit on here. And the first and easiest thing for me to do is to just kind of draw it down a little bit so you can see those undertones again. So again, that's Tuscan Pine. This is Williamsburg, both a little red. And then you brought up, I guess I will use a little white just to show you with the tint. You can really see that slight difference in the undertone that you don't really see so much with the mass tone. So again, that's Tuscan Pine. And the Williamsburg. So the more important thing that I wanted to talk about with the granular color, you mentioned that Williamsburg doesn't call theirs granular, and we do. When we say granular, we are not really talking about like a chunky paint or a texture in the paint. It has more to do with how the pigment is going to act in application. Specifically, when you actually create like a wash with some solvent. So what I have here is a mix with some solvent, and the granular aspect of it, it has to do with the pigments actually granulating. So that's kind of the technique that I'm talking about, but the best way to show it is this dry version that I have over here. So at the top, I have the wash using the Williamsburg brown pink, and then this is our brown pink granular. And the granulation is kind of similar to the watercolors that you find that are granulating. So the pigments kind of seep into the texture of the canvas, and it allows for these nice little textures to come through where you can see the variation of pigment. So that when we say granular, we're not really talking about a texture, we're just talking about the application and the effect that you can get from that granulating pigment. The next color that you had talked about is another one of my favorites, which is the Nocturne Black Pearlescent. So the Nocturne line is a very unique line to Tuscan Pine. Love this pigment, but just like, I don't think there are other pearlescent blacks, but so I didn't have another one to compare this to, but I do want to mention that it's similar to a pearlescent white, where you don't really expect a pearlescent white to be opaque because it is a transparent mica pigment. This is the same thing, it's just a black mica pigment. So if you use it in a thick application, it is going to look very black, but it has a lot more versatility. So you can use it a million and one ways. I just kind of wanted to give you a few examples of how I've used it, and I've really enjoyed the color. So we'll start with a little bit of black. One way that you can do it, and I'll start by saying anytime you mix another color into any pearlescent color, you're going to take away the amount of mica that is in there. So I find they're best mixed with transparent colors, but you'll want to use even less pigment if you're mixing it with a semi-transparent or an opaque color. So here I have the yellow citron. So I'm just going to take the black and just the tiniest amount of the yellow. So as I start to mix little by little this yellow into the mica, it's creating this green. And then, unfortunately, on camera without, special effects lighting, it's really hard to get that subtle mica shimmer on camera. But keeping a transparent color with the mica flakes still allows that mica pigment to really shine through. So you're using the black color to mix with the yellow and create that beautiful green, while still maintaining the mica pigment and the luminosity that you get there. Another example of a transparent color, and maybe one that doesn't change the color itself as much, would be a color like magenta. Again, another transparent color. So you create this beautiful pearlescent magenta purpley color. It's really nice to have that little bit of sparkle, add a little bit more shimmer, very subtle. But the last technique that I have to show, if you have dry layers, you can create a glaze using the pearlescent black. And I actually have kind of, I think, the perfect canvas for this because it has a lot of thick textures, and so it has a lot of places for the paint to pool and pull. So I'll do a little bit of linseed on the palette. And I'm just going to create a little bit of a glaze. Oh, I love the sparkles. So you can see here, just by brushing that on the texture, it has these areas where it's pooling over here. And so again, not great to see on camera, but in those areas you can see even more of the shimmer, but that shimmer is being added around all of the glazed area. It's just more spread out because you have more oil. You can also get a little bit of that purpley color. You can see that one on there as well. So to kind of show how that dries, I have on the edge here that I did a couple days ago, just as a little test. You can really see those nice pooled areas and then the glaze that's created using more linseed oil. So again, you can use these colors in a million and one ways. These are just a few options and a few ways that I have used them. But I really wanted to thank you for sending your review out there, and to anyone else that's watching this, if you take the time to tag us with any questions, post your own review videos, we're here to help and we're really happy to answer any of your questions. Thanks so much.